Ever feel like you're banging your head against the wall trying to come up with a good idea?
You're not alone.
We all crave that eureka
Mm.
moment. But sometimes the path to brilliance is, well, a little less than clear.
It's true.
Today, we're diving into the art and science of brainstorming, and trust me, it's way more exciting than making another list.
Everyone thinks they know how to brainstorm, but there's a real art to it.
We're talking about techniques that'll help you unlock those hidden gems in your mind.
A little structure can make all the difference in the world.
And for someone like you, always hungry for knowledge and those light bulb moments, I think this is going to be a game changer.
Imagine going from a jumbled pile of puzzle pieces to a masterpiece.
Let's face it, we've all been there.
Yeah.
Staring at a blank page, the cursor blinking, the pressure building.
That's what these techniques can help you do.
It's like our brains freeze up.
It's that overwhelming feeling of possibility, isn't it?
Okay, now we're talking.
You're standing at the foot of a mountain of ideas, not knowing where to even take the first step. That's where clustering comes in. It's like grabbing a map before you start climbing.
It's already sounding more active than just staring blankly into the void. Tell me more.
It's all about using visuals to make connections between your ideas. Picture this. You have your main topic in the center of your page, like the heart of a spider web.
You know, I've actually tried this before when planning a trip.
Then you branch out with related ideas, questions, anything that pops into your head. Those are your threads.
I had Italy in the middle, then branched out to Rome, Florence, Venice. Under Rome, I had Colosseum, food. You get the idea.
Precisely. And what's great is that it taps into a different part of your brain than traditional line making.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's perfect for visual learners. If you can see those connections forming, those aha moments tend to come a lot easier.
And speaking of different approaches, I've got to confess, sometimes my brainstorming looks a lot like procrastination.
You're in good company. It often boils down to that fear of imperfection, that blank page intimidation.
Now that's my kind of brainstorming.
But what if I told you there's a technique that actually encourages you to write blah, blah, blah?
Tell me more about this magical blah, blah, blah method. What is it and how does it work?
It's called free writing, and it's all about turning off that inner critic. You set a timer, even just 5 minutes, and you just write.
So even if it's just blah, blah, blah for 5 minutes, that's okay.
No editing, no judgment, just pure stream of consciousness.
Exactly. You'd be surprised what gems can emerge when you silence that inner editor.
And you know what else is great about it?
It's incredibly efficient, especially for someone like you who's always on the go.
Okay.
Sometimes you just need to power through that initial resistance to get to the good stuff.
So we've gone from visual mapping with clustering to embracing the blah, blah, blah with free writing.
Right.
But what if we want to approach brainstorming a bit more systematically?
Okay.
Like a detective searching for clues.
I love that analogy.
Okay.
And you're on the right track. One technique inspired by investigative journalism is all about asking the right questions.
Okay, now you've got my attention. I'm always up for channeling my inner Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
What's the secret weapon in a journalist's brainstorming toolkit? It's all about those classic W questions.
Okay.
Who, what, when, where, why, and how. This method forces you to examine your idea from every angle.
So let's say I'm trying to come up with a new product idea. Walk me through how I'd use these W questions.
You got it. First, who is this product for? Who are you trying to reach?
Okay.
Then, what need does it fulfill? What problem are you solving?
Right.
When and where will it be used? Think about the context.
Okay.
Why is it better than what's already out there?
Right.
And finally, how will you bring it to market? Asking yourself these questions helps uncover potential roadblocks and opportunities you might not have considered otherwise.
It's like you're shining a spotlight on those hidden corners of your idea.
Right.
It forces you to think critically about each aspect, filling in those gaps in your knowledge. This is especially useful for someone who loves to learn and explore different perspectives.
Exactly. And this approach is not just limited to brainstorming.
Okay.
It's a valuable tool for research, problem solving, and even decision making.
Right.
It helps you move beyond assumptions and gut feelings, prompting you to dig deeper.
It's like that old saying, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. But that's where the real learning begins, right?
Absolutely. Now, let's transition from asking insightful questions to structuring those brilliant ideas, which brings us to outlining.
Okay.
I know, it might sound a bit dry.
It's like something we did back in school.
Right, exactly. But trust me, outlining for brainstorming is different. Think of it like building a house. You wouldn't just start laying bricks without a blueprint, would you?
Definitely not. A blueprint helps you see the big picture, but you can still make changes along the way, right?
Precisely. Think of your outline as a flexible framework.
Okay.
It allows you to organize your thoughts, see how they connect, and easily rearrange them if needed.
And speaking of rearranging, I noticed in this outline example that it doesn't follow a strict chronological order. It jumps right into the heart of the matter.
That's a keen observation, and it highlights the beauty of outlining for brainstorming. You're not bound by any rules. You can start with the most exciting part, even if it's not the introduction. The goal is to map out your ideas in a way that makes sense to you, even if it seems unconventional.
That's really freeing to hear. It's not about being linear. It's about finding what works best for your thought process.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to leave sections unfinished or go back and tweak things. An outline is a living document. It evolves as your ideas develop.
It's like you're sketching out the structure of a skyscraper,
Yeah.
but you can move entire floors around if you need to. It's amazing how much freedom you have within that structure.
Exactly. And here's something else to consider. We've talked about clustering, free writing, asking those journalistic questions, even outlining. Each technique is powerful on its own, but imagine combining them, using one to spark ideas and another to refine them.
Now you're talking. It's like having a toolbox full of brainstorming power tools.
Yeah.
But even with the best tools, you can end up with a jumbled mess, right?
That's where the often overlooked aspect of curation comes in. It's not just about generating ideas, it's about shaping those raw materials into something truly remarkable.
So it's like being a sculptor with a giant block of marble. You've got all these ideas swirling around, but you need to chisel away the excess to reveal the masterpiece within.
Precisely. Curation is about asking those critical questions. Which of these ideas truly excite me? Which ones align with my goals? It's about making tough choices, letting go of some ideas to give others room to breathe.
That makes a lot of sense. It's easy to get attached to every idea, but sometimes you need to be ruthless, right?
Absolutely. It's about being selective, choosing the ideas that resonate most deeply and have the greatest potential.
This has been so eye-opening. I think we often get caught up in that initial brainstorming frenzy, and we forget about the importance of refining and prioritizing.
And that's where you, the listener, come in. You're not just a passive recipient of information, you're an active participant in this process.
Exactly. So the next time you're facing a challenge that requires a fresh perspective, remember these techniques. Don't be afraid to experiment, play around, and find what works best for you.
And most importantly, don't be afraid to embrace the power of curation. Be selective, be bold, and trust your instincts. You might be surprised at what brilliance you uncover.
You know, it's funny how we started by talking about those frustrating moments of staring at a blank page, and now I feel like I have a whole arsenal of tools to conquer that blank page and beyond.
And remember, the most important tool is your own creativity. These techniques are simply ways to unlock that potential that's already within you.
So true. And on that note, we'll leave you with this final thought. What if the real key to brainstorming isn't about coming up with something entirely new, but rather about connecting existing ideas in ways you've never considered before? Keep that in mind as you embark on your next brainstorming adventure. Until next time, happy brainstorming.